Nope, we're good to go. Hey, how are you doing, guys, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the third and last day of Look Like a Pro on Video Challenge. I sincerely appreciate each and every one of you for being here these first 2 days. We are growing, we're learning, we're getting excited, and we're learning how to just shape our different perspectives on camera, right? As I told you all before, the world changed. Everyone went virtual, and most people were afraid. They didn't know how to talk. They didn't know where to put their hands at. They froze on camera. Like, do I sit like this and talk? Well, that's what we're here for. And today, as I promised you all, I have a special guest for you today, Professor Tatiana Rodriguez. I'm rolling my R's. I'm practicing. Okay, she's going to be talking about how to get comfortable. She's got some great kind of scenes and everything for you all to learn from. So, if you have any questions, as we kind of did the first 2 days, remember to put them with a Q, then a colon, write your question in there. And if we have time, then we will get to your questions at the end. But no matter what, if you watch a replay, put them in there, right? So you can get your questions answered. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get right into it and let's bring on Tatiana Rodriguez.
Hey,
Hey!
Lion. Hello,
Yes.
everybody watching. And wow, nice job. Nice job rolling those R's. Big win for that. That is not easy to do if it's not native to you. So props
Yes,
for that.
yes. So I'm excited to have you here. But we've talked before several times, but we also talked on the show kind of like that. And it's we were talking before about the growth in being on camera when you started with Ecamm and started that progress. I'm going to ask you to take a few moments just to let the audience know a little bit about you, who you are, your journey, how you got here, why they should listen to you. So do me a favor, take a few moments here, and the floor is yours.
It all started on a bright sunny day in the late 70s. Just kidding. We're not going to go that far, but I do want to share with you that I am an adjunct professor at Rutgers University, which is in the state of New Jersey. East Coast United States. I know that some people watching will be from all over the world, all over the country. So, want to say welcome and thank you for having me. And I'm excited to share a lot of what I teach my students, which is about being confident when you're communicating with others. I teach public speaking, I teach leadership courses. And so, whether that is in this rectangle box here, or in a face to face environment, or delivering a speech, or teaching, or educating, or coaching, we need to have those skills and abilities to be able to do this. It's one of the things that I love to do. Before teaching, I did photography and video professionally. And prior to that, I worked as a hospital administrator. And so my education formally has been in the world of public health, but always had such a strong interest in communication and media. So I've blended those things together now into my teaching. And I also have an online platform on YouTube called Tatiana Teaches, where I am helping to teach communication skills. And now my specific focus is for adjunct professors and educators to develop confidence and to help them create dynamic classes that students will love and remember. But those same concepts apply to anyone who is looking to run workshops, run meetings, have better relationships with their teams, with their audience. So, that is just a little bit about my career journey. Of course, it's much more intricate than that, but a brief overview. And side note, I love to cook, I love to travel, exploring new cities, and I'm especially enjoying my electric scooter and my electric bike these days. So it's a lot of fun, even though now it's winter here. So I'm looking forward to getting to a little bit of a warmer climate, maybe in January. I can foresee a little traveling in my future. So, Lion, thank you. I appreciate the invitation to come and chat today.
Yeah, absolutely, and I love it because I always say that we sometimes as coaches, teachers, whatever, we can say the same thing, but different people hear it at different perspectives and learn from different people. So I don't care who gets the information as long as they learn it, and that's what I'm about. And last thing, really quick, I also want to say is, recently I saw a post of your, well, not recently, but a while ago, you were in my hometown of Charleston, South Carolina, and
Oh my gosh.
food. Yes, I live in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, so you were like
If
a
only
couple
I don't
hours
know why I
from.
didn't remember that when I was there. I could have talked to you, and you could have come
Yeah.
visit, and you could have given us some good recommendations, but next time, because I'm hoping that it will
Yes.
not be the only time. But I really enjoyed the food and the environment in
Yeah.
that city. And interestingly enough, the customer service at any restaurant that we went to was pretty spectacular. It was
Yeah.
impressive to have it so consistently no matter where we went.
Yeah, it's been rated the top or number one city to visit or whatever for years, and I think they pride themselves on that. So that's a really good thing. So,
Mm.
and even like you were saying before as well, the communication in the box or outside, those things translate to the outside world, into interviews if we're sitting in person. So what are a few things that you would like to share? I know you have a presentation. Let me know when you're ready to jump into that, but share a few things for our viewers and our listeners who are probably saying to themselves, you know what? I know that I need to nail that next meeting, that next interview that's virtual, but I just don't know where to sit. I don't know how to maybe do my background. What are some things? Talk to us and tell us what should we do?
Yes. And I know that this is day 3 and everybody has checked out day 1 and day 2 presumably at this point. And let's do a quick recap, right? This is what I like to do in classrooms too. What you've already learned. So even in your own mind, do a little bit of retrieval practice, right? The practice of retrieving things. What do you remember? What were your takeaways from day 1 and 2? I'll remind you of some of the points that Lion touched on: lighting, camera angles, background, using software tools like Notion to help you organize your content, audio, using in-ear monitors like we are, which are basically, it's just a fancy way of saying headphones, but in-ear monitors, these IEMs that we use to help avoid any sound issues when we're streaming. Because if we have a speaker, an audio speaker in our room, then what can happen? Audio conflicts. It's coming into the microphone. So we want to avoid all that by using that. And then I know you also discussed microphones as well. So you spent a good deal of time talking about techniques like 3-point lighting and different evaluating different microphones and things. So from the technology perspective, I think you touched on a lot today. So what I wanted to talk about, line with you, if you could join me, is this concept of 5D speaking, right? So I first heard the concept of 3D speaking from Bill Hugterp, who runs a communication company called Own the Room. And I had taken a virtual class with him a number of years before all that. But during COVID, they did this nice little thing for educators and talking about this concept of 3D speaking. So I wanted to share with you 5D speaking. And again, based on what I learned from Bill Hugterp. So when we think about 5D speaking, like what in the world am I talking about? Obviously, I'm talking about 5 things, right? 5 dimensions of speaking. So let's get to the first one, which is 1D, which is the words themselves, the words that we are going to say. Now, everybody's a little bit different in how they go about preparing for that, right? You, Lion, you maybe you're a little more off the cuff, or maybe you just write key notes, key phrases. Everyone's a little bit different. So, when it comes to, let's just talk about today. When it comes to preparing for today, how did you get yourself ready for what you wanted to share for this the 3-part series that you're doing?
Yeah, I love that question. And I am one of those off the cuff kind of people, and I am forcing myself to do more research. And so that's one of the things that I did today. I started to research. I'm trying to think of how I would put that in the D, if that's what you're kind of getting to. But I researched material for today.
Yeah, so that's all part of that preparation process of getting our words together. So we can have our sources, we can have our supporting materials, the things we want to say, but this piece will be different. But the first dimension is just the words themselves. They make sense, they're well organized, but it's the words are not the only thing that matter, right? There's a lot of things that we need to be adding. So to make it 2D, then 2 dimensions, we are adding tone to those words. So 1D is the words themselves, right? Just the words. We're speaking English, they're grammatically correct, they make sense, people can follow us, they're clear. But those words can also be delivered with no energy, with no emotion. And I know you touched on tonality on one of
Yeah.
the, I think on the first day, we talked a bit about that. And so in my class, we call it vocal variety. It can be called many things, but it's that use of thinking about your voice in terms of highs, mid levels, and lows. And we go up into those high areas when we have a little more energy and we want to speed it up a bit and things are brighter, livelier. But
Yeah.
then there are also times when we're talking when we drag things a little bit. We might lower our volume. We might let people know that this is a little bit more serious. Like for example, I shared with you that I used to do photography and video,
Yeah.
and that's an exciting part. So I'm smiling. I'm using my my body language to communicate as well. But if let's say we were in a space where I was going to share why I no longer do photography and video, right? It's because I had a car accident and a cervical spine surgery and a lot of heartache and confusion and figuring out what's next. What am I going to do? So, sharing that message, the tone is different, right? It wouldn't make sense if I said, and I was in a car accident and I had a cervical spine surgery. And then the next thing I knew, I was completely confused about my entire life. Like
Yeah.
we match the words and the tone have to match that. And there has to be an energy about that. So, that's the second dimension is
Okay.
knowing that vocal variety has to be there because people are will tune us out if we do sound boring. I think you mentioned Bueller in on day one too, right? Everyone knows
Yeah.
just not fun, not exciting, not enjoyable. So having that shift is really important. So we have to be aware, are we coming across with energy? Are we coming across with a dynamic tone or is it falling flat or dull or is it a mix? So there's so many things that go into this knowing yourself, right? Knowing that there's a difference. But one great tool, especially if you're starting out, that I like to encourage everyone to do is find a person that you think is an engaging and dynamic speaker. You think, wow, I really enjoy listening to that person. And it can especially be podcast mode. Audio only is particularly helpful because you're focusing a lot on the energy in the voice because the visual cues aren't there when it's audio only, and then try to imitate that person. Try to see how you might be able to sound a little bit like them. And this is all on the journey of trying to find your own voice, your own style of speaking, because obviously everybody is unique. And our voice is unique as well, just like our thumbprints, just like our eyes. No person in the world has ever sounded like you or will sound like you. This is the one and only Tatiana Rodriguez on the planet. It's the one and only lion flood. And I know we can get into the ethics of AI mimicking voice right now, but separate conversation for a separate day. Our natural voices are one of a kind.
Yes.
So thinking about, am I offering up the energy that my words deserve? Because you can also have the most amazing writer on the planet, but when they go to speak the words, it's not the same because writing for the page is
Mhm.
different than writing for the stage, whether it's the virtual stage or an in person stage. It's different, right? We read books differently than we would speak the message of the book out loud. So it's just understanding that writing and speaking are connected, but not the same when it comes to the mode of delivery, right? An email is different than a conversation. So keeping those things in mind. That's the second element. So the words plus tone. Now we're at 2D. So how do we make this 3D? You may have guessed the third element is our body language. So now we've got the words, we've got the energy in the voice, and our body also communicates those things. I think the important thing to take to heart here is that these three things need to be in alignment. They need to match up and they need to make sense. And there are a lot of reasons for that. When people speak in a way that matches the energy, that's engaging, that's authentic, that feels truthful, they feel likable, and their body language matches that in terms of confident, open body language versus closed versus feeling like there's something hidden, we will tend to be more willing to listen to somebody. I'm not saying that you do these things, three things right, and then suddenly everybody trusts your message.
Yeah.
There's a little more to it than that, but it allows for people to want to listen to you, to feel like you're sincere and genuine, and therefore start to build trust in you. So you get those three things in alignment, you are kicking butt in communication world because people retain only so much information when they're hearing words alone. When you add words and the energy and the tone, it's more engaging, right? There's more retention of that information. And then when we add the body language to it as well, people are just more naturally engaged with it. So, how would you describe yourself, Lion, in terms of your body language? Are you a
Mm.
fairly expressive person, with your hands, with your facial gestures, with your arms, or
Yeah.
are you a little more, because people are very different. There could be people with low energy, a little more reservation, or not as expressive with their body. Where do you fall in that scale?
You know what? That's a great point, and I have found out that I am very expressive, right? And it's taken a while to get to that point, to learn. But I speak with my hands. Some might even say I'm Italian, eh? But yeah, I definitely speak with my hands. My facial expressions are big, and yeah. So yeah, I speak. I'm expressive, I would say.
Mhm. Yeah, and I can see that in you as well. I don't see your hands, but I definitely see your facial gestures, right?
Yeah.
And so, one great tip, especially if you are speaking from a place of authority or sharing your expertise, or even in an interview, you want to come across with a lot of confidence. You want to make sure that your body language is on point for that. And you already spoke about this, but I just want to reiterate the point of eye contact. In person, it means looking into the eyes of the people that are in our audience or in our conversation. Virtually, it's so different. It's so hard. And we just have to accept that we're going to be looking into little black circles or big black circles, depending on the size of your camera lens. And
Yeah.
that's what mimics natural eye contact versus looking, if we're on Zoom or in a Teams meeting or something, when we're looking at the people, we're looking at our screen. We are actually looking at the people, but that's not what signals eye contact to them. It's looking at the camera, which is why I've trained myself to look at the camera, even though that is not necessarily natural to do. So just want to make sure that that's there. And showing your hands is a huge thing, because this is something I learned from Vanessa Van Edwards over at the Science of People a number of years ago. Our hands are our trust indicators, right? For all of
Hmm.
time, when we got in trouble as kids and we wanted to say, it wasn't me, what is the one gesture that we would do? What would we do to say, it's not me? It wasn't
Yeah.
me. We go, it's not me. Right?
Yeah.
We immediately show our palms, that our palms are open, that they're clean, that we're not hiding anything, that we did not steal those cookies. We did not take the thing we weren't supposed to. So, in a very subconscious way, being able to show our hands to others signals safety and trust. So it's why I love to share that tip for people. And it's why I frame myself up in a way where, and it takes a lot of practice, a lot of finagling, framing myself up in a way where you can see a bit of my torso, you can see a bit of my hands, so that I can, because I'm like you, I am also expressive. And to be able to signal with that adds an element that's more dynamic to communication than if I was more hidden,
Mm,
or
yeah.
you could see less of me or less of my hands. Even something as small as headroom, right? Because when we're confident, we feel good, we take up space, not like in a dominating way where we take up all the space, but we fill the frame. That's the way we do it in a virtual world. And so making sure, sometimes my students will join our class, and this is all I see.
Yeah.
I'm barely, and I probably even sometimes just see this, but it's important for us to think about the framing. And I know you mentioned that in a lesson too, but I wanted to throw in my 2 cents. So, words, tone, and body language are the three first three dimensions. Our fourth dimension then becomes, how are we using our space? So if it's a speech and you're in a room, it's your stage, or the room in front of you, the space between you and the audience. In the virtual world, it's our rectangle, right? It's
Yeah.
this box of space. This is the space that we have to work with. So we might use that to signal certain things. Like I might be like, high five, guys. That's still using my space. Like I'm still right. And there's a man named Sekou Andrews who I took a course that he did about virtual online body language. And he talked about this one thing called kinesthetic punctuation. And that term always stuck in my mind. I'd never heard it before, but he's
Oh,
basically saying how we can use our bodies as exclamation marks to signal certain emotions and things, right? So even if it doesn't come naturally to you to be expressive, like if I want to say like whoa, 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 I can physically move far away, or I can be
yeah,
tell me more. I can physically move in a little bit closer. And I know we have to be mindful of where the mic is so people can hear us and all
right.
that. But being able to use our digital space is important as well, right? So, digital or physical space. So, moving in a little bit closer to the audience if it's an in person audience, making sure that we're giving some attention to everybody in the room from all the way left to all the way right.
Mm,
We're panning the room. The term is panning, making sure that we're giving eye contact to everybody. Doesn't apply in a virtual setting, right? There is no panning the room, but
right.
we have other opportunities to express ourselves through the space that we have. So, is there a way that you might take advantage of the space that you have that you're not currently taking advantage of? So, I don't know, Lion, if you have any ideas, but what are some ways that you think, hey, you know what, maybe I could try this to use my space better next time?
Yeah, it's one of the things I really think about now as I'm setting up my studio and everything. And when you're reflecting on that, and one of the things that I try to do is for my background, for an example, I will put up maybe two small pictures, is what I usually do. And I call that my frame. So I know that if that's where my head needs to be, in between this plant or this
Mhm.
plant, or in between this bookshelf, these two books, or something. For an example, if I have a bookshelf, something so when I sit down, I can look back. Okay, I'm centered, and plus it gives a pleasurable sight for people to see behind me, but not too distracting. So that's a idea that I think or I use to take up space, so it's just not dead space. I want to put something there, even if it's a fake plant. I know
Yes.
that they say
And
studies have shown that people trust people with plants in their house. I don't know, but
I mean, I do like plants, so that would probably get my attention. But and they're very healthy for us for breathing. So there's probably some things and just the green color, there's nature in that, but
yeah,
you're absolutely right. Thinking about our backgrounds is another element that's important when we are considering our our digital presence. What is in our background? And mostly I think people are curious and it's interesting to see like how did they do their background? What did they choose? So whether it's a virtual background or a real background, thinking about that and making sure that at a minimum it's clean, clear, and not cluttered with things that don't need to be there. So I'll coach my students, for example, to make sure that you're never showing laundry or sheets on a bed or things like that, just to clean it up,
mm,
right? Just to clean, clear, uncluttered. I still want to see people. I still think it's okay for people to show their personality, their things of
right,
interest in there, right? It doesn't have to be a cold, sterile background, but just making conscious choices about your space, whether it's virtual or physical, is the fourth dimension of 5D speaking. And what could the last one be? What have we not covered yet here to add to this? So if you're listening to the sound of my voice, take a guess, even if it's in your mind. I know I can't hear you right now, but take a guess. What could that fifth dimension be? Lion, do you have any guesses? What could the fifth dimension
uh
be?
look, I feel like I'm back in college now. Okay, let's see. Words, tone, body language, space. I'm gonna say our appearance, maybe.
Oh, nice. That is a really important thing to consider that I do put under body language because our body communicates. And
Okay,
listen, we can do a whole session just on body language. We could do a whole
okay,
day just on body language, but physical appearance and grooming is a part of body language as well as the gesturing.
yeah,
So that definitely is an element that plays into that third dimension. But our fifth dimension, I'll give you a hint. We
okay.
are using it right now in the middle of our screen.
In the middle of
And
in
I'll
the
give
middle
you
of our
another
screen.
hint.
Uh oh, doom. That's like Mario sound effect, sound.
Yes. The fifth
Okay.
element is imagery and audio. So,
Yes.
these visual elements, these sensory elements that are going to enhance our presence, our communication. And there is no one size fits all formula either, right? I mean, most people on the planet are used to slide deck presentations, whether it's PowerPoint or Keynote, but we have so many other options now too, like Canva, like Prezi, like Genially. And there are even more, right? There's so many online tools that we can use for presentations. But that's not the only way to showcase imagery, right? We can and when we're here in this world, we have the ability to use our cameras to
Yes.
highlight physical things too, right? So let's just say I have a
Really?
message. I could put it up on the screen. I could write the words, "You're all that and a bag of chips. We're better with you here. Thank you." On the screen. But there's something about not doing it digitally. There's something about just saying, "Let me show you something. I've got something to show you. Check this out."
Wow.
And then you just want to make sure that, it would be focusable and that your people watching would be able to see it. But imagery is all images, all everything that you can bring to show your audience. It's almost like thinking about show and tell. And in a digital space, we have sound effects that we can put in for different things for fun. Like if we were, I don't know, we're about to give a special announcement. We can do a news intro. There's so many. We want to when we're playing trivia games with my students, and somebody's winning. We'll do a winning sound. So we might go with very good.
Okay.
That's the correct answer. It's just add playfulness to it, add engagement, because the idea is to involve our senses. The idea is to involve our senses with this fifth element that we're talking about here. Let me see if I can get this right.
Yeah, I know,
Right,
right? That's
right, right there. Right, this fifth
there it
element. It's so
is.
hard because it's reversed.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, making sure that we're taking into consideration. Of course, there's presentations and there's beautiful ways of designing them, but that's not the only way to do imagery and audio. Sometimes it is just showing something or asking your audience to grab an object near you that has some meaning. Everybody grabs an object and then you can talk about the object. You can check, what is that? Just different ways. And if we're teaching a lesson, sometimes that lesson can, I'm just trying to see if there's something else I can, or a book. Let's say we're going to, I've got this book that I'm going to do a book review on and put on my channel to share with other adjunct professors. So I can just show it on screen, right? It doesn't have to
Right.
be a picture of the book. Just, I like the idea of using things and showing things that are physical in nature because we're so used to the digital. And listen, I'm a tech girl. I love the
Mm.
technology. I think it's awesome. But, if I wanted to, another way I can show you the 1D stuff is I can just say, okay, we're going to talk 1D. All right, 1D guys, what's 1D?
Yeah.
And I'm going to show you words. So there's just different ways to communicate the message. It doesn't always have to be physical, but it takes planning, pre-planning. It takes time to think through these ways that we can be engaging. And in when we're in person, it means props as well. Right? Props that we can use and things to communicate messages in ways that are just more interesting and engaging than we're used to. But if I'll show you, a full screen mode. I'll show you something that I do when I want to talk to my students about distraction, right? So
Okay.
I'll showcase this, for example. Let's say I want to communicate with my students and I want to talk to them about cell phone distractions while we're in an online classroom. Sure, I can just say, let's talk about distractions, but I can do it in a way that's more playful and has some meaning here. If I do it this way, it's just a little bit more memorable. So to review
Wow.
our 5D speaking, right? These are all the different elements. You need some words, right? The words have to be there. That's how we communicate. Those words, that's the what, but the words need to have the style to it, the how we say it. There's what we say 1D, how we say it 2D. That carries meaning that will make people more likely to listen. And then how we involve our body language into this, both in terms of expression, how we have chosen to style and look ourselves that day communicates about us. I remember watching a video about you where you're like doing some magic and dressed up and you got some sneakers on too. It's like that's
Yeah.
all part of intentional communication about ourselves.
Yeah.
And then, so fourth, our use of space, whether it's virtual or physical, that stage space or our rectangle space here. And then fifth is imagery and audio. And, I might also, if we can't add this to a digital space, but how do things smell and feel and look is part of this too, which I have a little more control over in a physical space, right? If in a classroom at a university, I really can't do anything about scents. I can't bring in candles or things, but I do ask for classrooms that have natural light, huge windows, because I just feel better in that
Yeah.
space too. Thinking about all of the senses, but primarily what do we show and what can they hear? Are there ways to make it a little bit more engaging and playful? And if this feels a little bit nerve-wracking to you, you just try one little sound effect at a time, one little
Yeah.
thing. And then there's little dings. Just try one time
Yeah.
and just little things that you can do to incorporate more visuals or like the distraction slide that I showed you to make it. So those are the 5 dimensions of public speaking, speaking, communicating, content creation that I think is a helpful framework to be thinking about as you're getting ready to have an online presence, to communicate your content online. So what do you think? What do you think, Lion, about these things?
I'm absolutely loving it, and I've got my pencil and my pad here as well because I'm always learning and I love it, and I'm picking up little small things. I'm like, oh, I didn't even think of that, right? And that's giving me something else to go back in. Oh, let me try to implement that into what I'm doing, and I absolutely love the thing where you says pick up and talk about something. So, for example, I always put this on wrong, but here's something I have. It's a no button. It's a physical no button, but if you press it, it has like 100 different ways of saying no,
No.
right? And so it's my little fun thing when somebody says, "Can I do something with my sound,
Yes.
please?" So yeah, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, because you bring up a good point that I'd like to highlight too. It's not always about the things that we're going to give to our audience. Sometimes it's about the things that we need to feel good in our space as well.
Yeah,
So for me, the studio space, the office space, the desk space, it has to feel good to me too. So it's just
hmm,
another element is making sure that you feel good. You have things around you that are energizing, uplifting. I know you do the little reminder for your camera too to like look here.
yeah,
I know some people who will put a little picture there or just something like using those cues for ourselves as well. And with the technology, I know it's easy when you're starting out to see the more glamorous side when it's those of us who are using Sony's EVE10 cameras or we've got Shure mics and things, but we all started somewhere. This is certainly
hmm.
not where I started. You
I
know,
remember.
yeah, yeah, for me and even though I had professional equipment from photography and video and
Yeah.
the concepts like being present online is not the same thing. So I started with this webcam, right?
Oh,
This is
yeah.
my beginning webcam that I needed to use. So it's not the same quality as this, right? This came later. But for a very long time, I made it happen with this
Yeah.
camera. So and I had a USB lav mic. So there's no no shame in wherever you are right now, whatever stage you're at starting with and even if what you have is your phone, to be honest, our phones have amazing, amazing technology inside of it in terms of quality compared to webcams. So wherever you are, as long as you're working to improve and you're finding content that you want to share, practicing tools like the 5D concept that I'm teaching you today, or things that Lion has shared in past videos, I think it's just all about stepping stones and learning the
Yeah.
next thing and getting to the next thing and moving forward. And one other element that's important that I didn't quite touch about in the 5D that I want everybody to think about is, if you can answer this prompt for yourself. When I think about my voice, I and then share with me, what is it that comes up for you as you think about your own voice? What are those things like? Because it can be difficult, and I know some, we're going to look at some memes here, but when you think about your voice, what is it that's going on for you? Could it Do you get a sense of like different images, different emotions about your voice? Are you kind of cringing? I think cringe is one of the words I get the most from people, if I could categorize one thing, or just discomfort. So, processing your own messaging of what you think about your voice is really important, because what we tell ourselves in the privacy of our mind matters. It really does matter. What we tell ourselves in the privacy of our own mind matters to how we show up in the world and how we communicate. And that might be influenced by many things: the messaging you got growing up, the relationships that you've been in, teachers, coaches, bosses, family members. There will be these different concepts about how we think about our voice, and they may not always be strong right away, but like learning technical skills, mindset skills can be learned as well, because you do deserve to have your voice heard, to have your message shared with the world. There are people who need to hear from you. And part of getting that message out there is learning the tech skills while also working on the heart and mind matters behind all of that. So I wanted to share, my thoughts about the power of our voice and share that reflection in case it helps anybody who's listening.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for this. I can't tell you what this means, and I know you're a busy profession and everything, so I'm going to get ready to get you off of here and everything. But the information you shared, I know there's nuggets in it that people can take away from it. And like I always tell people, don't try to encompass everything all at once sometimes, because then you can get overwhelmed. Take bits and pieces, and then, like you said, apply a little bit. You didn't have the studio equipment, you built it, right? So I sincerely appreciate that. Are there any final words? Oh, let me ask you a question real quick before you go. Do you have a teleprompter yet? Confidence monitor?
I did just get one just
Oh,
recently.
okay,
This is the new, I think it was
okay,
this the month of November. Set it up, been practicing with it,
okay.
because again, just like any new tool, it takes
Yeah.
a new set of skills. So what I've done is, I have a small I have I don't have the new Elgato one, but I have
Okay.
a glide gear one. So it is an iPad sits at the base of it that's
Right.
reflected into a mirror where my camera lens is behind. So I can look at my camera lens, but in front of that lens is now a screen. And I have put you, Lion, right
Yeah.
there. So that is my cue to look at you and make that direct eye contact. But my screens are down here. Right? So
Yeah.
I still have to navigate and look down at
Yeah.
some things, but I'm training myself, like my peripheral view, to make sure that I look at you when I'm
Yeah.
speaking to you, or look to the lens when I want to speak to your audience today as well. So it
Perfect.
takes practice. But yeah, I do have
Yes.
that. That's the latest addition to my gear to help me when I know I need to make stronger eye contact.
Perfect. Hey, thank you so very much for this. I'm going to bid you adieu so you can go take care of everything you need to take care of. I sincerely appreciate this. And I will be in touch with you a little bit later to kind of wrap up some things and let you know how everything else went. So I appreciate
Definitely. But
this.
before
Thank
I
you.
go,
Oh,
Lion,
yes,
there's one
yes,
thing
go
I
for it.
want to say, and I just want to
Uh oh.
give my shout of appreciation to you because when I was new in the ECAM
Oh,
community a couple years ago, you were the first person to respond to my call of like, does anybody want to give me a hand to practice test some of these things out? And you were further along that journey with me. You'd already mastered a lot of the concepts. And so I just want to take the time now to say thank you for being willing to
mhm.
share your knowledge, your expertise with me when I was a beginner learning this new software, this new amazing program, eCam, whom I love. And you're people like you the reason why this community is so unbelievably powerful and special, why I'm happy to come and help you, talk on your show, is because you you're an open-hearted, kind person, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Look at all of that pro talk. I just made a mistake. I got so happy I pressed the wrong button, but that's okay. I'm
Yeah.
gonna take the
Well,
compliment.
hey, let's talk. Yeah, but I do want you to show that thing because it's super cool.
Yeah, I got it. And I'm gonna put this on out live real quick because I know you gotta go. I was gonna say, as soon as you were thinking about the 1D, 2D, I was like, ooh, my brain. I'm like, I'm gonna ask her to send me a picture of the 1D of her holding it up, the 2D. So then when you're bringing it up, your image will come up on the screen and say 1D, and then go back down. The next image will come up and say 2D. That's just my brain, though.
Listen, and you just gave me an idea too of another way. Talk about imagery where the concept can be shown, right? That is yet
Yeah.
another way to communicate in a more engaging way with our audience. So, great tip. Great
Thank
tip.
you. I'm gonna take that compliment. I'm gonna write the date on it, and I'm gonna save it. I'm saving that compliment. Thank you.
Yes. No,
All
thank
right.
you. Yeah, your
Have a good
kindness
day.
is appreciated and your genuineness. Thank you so much for your help.
You got it. Yes, 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 yes. All right, all right. I know you gotta go. I don't want to keep you, so I'm gonna
All
talk
right.
forever. So
Big hug.
thank you so
Big
much.
hug.
Big up, big virtual hug. Yeah, amazing. Tatiana Rodriguez
All
is
right.
amazing. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Take good care, enjoy, and keep on learning and growing.
There you
Ciao.
go. Ciao, Bella. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for coming to the last day of Look Like a Pro on Camera Challenge. That was Professor Tatiana Rodriguez. This is my dog down here bothering me. I didn't put him up because he's been put up all day. So, but authenticity, I said, is probably one of the best things for me, anyways, that I found that people relate to me at. I see the comments, I see the questions. We're going to make sure we get to them. But I hope you really learn some things from this because that journey is starts with you. You have to go towards it, right? You have to take one step. I have that at my ending that comes up on my screen when people get to see it. So you have to take that journey. Begins with putting one foot in front of the other. Now, that is the end. I'm going to be asking you all to maybe just help me out with the survey, things I can work to improve on. I don't care how tough it is. If it's the worst thing in the world you feel like you can say it because that only helps for me to improve, to make sure I bring better materials to each and every one of you to help you grow on camera. Those things are so important, and I want to see you grow. I want to see you get out there and scale your virtual business, your coaching, your clientele, anything like that. Let me tell you a little quick little tidbit for most who may not have seen. What you saw on screen there, first off, Tatiana is an eCam user, and I remember when she first got started and we worked together, and man, she has grown so much with that. But all of those things that you saw on screen, we put those things together. Those are all hers, and she brought them into my screen. But me being on screen, and we put those together maybe 5 minutes before we went on. But that's because we knew how to work eCam a lot better. So I'm going to invite you all to have an opportunity to learn that as well. If you're interested in learning more about eCam, that's my specialty. That's what I teach on is eCam. I can teach on OBS and some other items, but I would tell you it's just a little tougher for some of those ones for people to adjust to. What eCam is a simple drag and drop option, but I'm going to offer you a special deal, and I'm going to extend it until 1 week. For 1 week, I call this my FML. Nope, don't founding members launch. Okay, founding members launch. So, all of the eCam coaches and professors, we had a creators camp a couple of weeks ago, right? We always get together and we teach and we learn and we get better. And so I've created a group, which is my VCA Video Course Academy, and my e committee, which is my group of you having access to all of the coaches, all of the materials, everything that we we basically put out there. Now, not all of it directly pertains to only eCam, right? We have coaches who teach about camera settings, right? How to set your camera's audio as well, and maybe you learn from me, maybe you learn better from someone else. So but we're gonna extend that offer to you as well, which you can join our monthly membership for right now only $13 a month. Regular price is $49 a month, but we're going to be opening that up. What you get is unlimited course access. You get access to our private community. You get access to the new courses that are released monthly for only $13 a month for our e-committee. And what we're going to do for everyone who's interested in learning more about that, and I'm going to show you an example of what the e-committee does a little bit later, but we're going to give you the opportunity to come into the group right now for an FML founding members launch. All you have to do is just comment in our comment section, e-committee, and we'll send you a link directly to that group. It is absolutely one of the best things I can show you. I will show people a little bit later as well. I'll do another live with that. And then what that gives you is an opportunity to get access to ask questions 24/7. We have coaches across the country, across the world, have access to being available to assist you out. If you have a question about a microphone, if you have a question about lighting, if you have a question about a camera, what's the best camera? What's the best settings for this type of camera, right? We have those answers for you. And if we don't, we'll get one of our coaches who can assist you. Remember, that goes back up to $49 a month. If you want to be a part of that e-committee, let me know. Drop the comment or the word, excuse me, in the comment box, e-committee below, and we're going to get ready to grow, scale, and man, we're about to blow off the charts. All right. So I sincerely appreciate you. Also, if someone is interested, we do have my video content academy. That one you can join in. And currently, we're going to still be holding a special. I have to double check with my manager, but don't hold me to this. But we are offering that currently right now for 50% off. And I think I'm going to extend it till next week, Thursday as well, just to make sure, because I want to make sure you can get in. Normally, it is $297 for an on demand video course, which you get to learn at your own speed. But you also then get access to our group coaching. I was going to say one-on-one, but it's a small group coaching live in which you get to come in. We hold your hand. We walk you through some of the issues that you may be going through. You're saying, my background, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get this. My audio, I don't know how to get it fine tuned. My content, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. Well, you get access to one-on-one, and we get to work with you also. Normally that is $297. Currently it's $297. But again, today until next week, Thursday, we're offering it at 50% off. So make sure you jump on it. Jump on it. Jump on it. All right. So that is it for me at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. If you have questions, don't be afraid to ask, right? Don't be afraid to ask. We are here for you. We are working to grow. We're doing all of this great stuff right here. I sincerely appreciate each and every one of you again for being here. Thank you for taking a moment, listening to me, listening to Professor Rodriguez, my R's Rodriguez. So, and as I always say, Andreas lentamente, right? Go slowly. Take your time with things. Learn and go at your pace. Hey, Lion Flight here. Make sure you continue to redesign your life and live while you're alive. I hope you got some great information from this and you're more empowered to get on camera, to get over that frustration, to get over that embarrassment of being on camera. You can do it. Hey, I'll talk to you later.
Live your life within the moment. And don't go wait until the morning. You never know when it is over. bodies move to the groove and the light, the